guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. Today we're in a little bit of a different setup. I just thought it would be more chill to film out in my living room. We will see. I have 4 dogs, so I'm kind of interested to see how well they mind their business. But yeah, I just thought it'd be fun to like mix it up a little bit, do something a little bit more chill. Today I wanted to talk about project panning and project panning tips and tricks that I have learned over the past, well, almost 3 years of being in the community. So if you're interested in hearing a little bit about that, be sure to stay tuned. Of course, be sure to subscribe as well, you guys, so you don't miss out on all the content, and hit the thumbs up button before you leave. Also, I do post every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. Sometimes on other days, but usually those days now. I think that's gonna be my schedule. But anyways, let's just jump into the video. Okay, so the first rule of project panning is that there are none. If anyone tries to tell you there are rules, there are certain ways you can and can't use your makeup, tell them to just shut the fuck up, because they're wrong. It's your makeup, you bought it, you can use it however you darn well please. And if you decide that you don't want to use it, you can do that too. There literally are no freaking rules to makeup, and that is like my biggest pet peeve. There are no rules. You can do whatever you want. What you do might not work for somebody else, and that's honestly like part of the beauty of it as well, is that it doesn't work for everyone. Different things work better for others. Like makeup can be so individualized to you and your individual preferences and your loves, your likes, your creativity. It just, you can do whatever you want with it. So there are no rules to makeup. There are no rules to project panning. If you're someone who's gonna come in here and tell me in my comments, how do you use my makeup, go ahead and leave now. Like, just go. I don't want the negative energy. The community doesn't need the energy, so just go. If you're here because you want to learn different tips and tricks about panning your makeup, different ways to use your makeup, then this video is going to be for you. I have learned a lot over the past almost 3 years, not only about my makeup style and preferences and project panning, but about myself. And I feel like I've really just done that through project panning and through the community. And that's the biggest thing. I love the project pan community. I mean, we have the panning police. You get those people here and there. Those are the people I was talking about in the beginning that think you can only use your makeup one way. But for the most part, the community is absolutely great. So encouraging, so loving. If you haven't yet and you're on Instagram, I definitely recommend following some panners, getting engaged in the community, because a lot of them are really great people and people that I would consider my friends. So love the community. Now, let's say, you're new to this, you're not sure what project panning even is. Okay, we're gonna walk through it, we're gonna take it from the basics. That's fine, that's not an issue. I had to have someone explain it to me as well a few years ago. So project panning essentially is using what you have, and that is the goal, to use what you have. You can join a project. There are so many projects in the panning community. My friend Steph and I have one, Pan Over Purchase. The Battleship project was really fun. Did You Pan My Battleship is what it was called. A basic project pan, project A to Z, project, pan in every palette. Like, there are so many different projects that you can join. And if you know of a project, feel free to leave it down in the comments, because that could help somebody else find a project that they might think fits well for them. I personally started with an OG project pan, and for this, I would recommend only picking 5 to 10 items to start, because you're gonna set your own goals. And that's the thing too. You can set your own goals, your own rules. Like, you're the one calling the shots. So if you want to set usage goals, pan goals, or empty goals, You can do all of those things. It's whatever you want. So right now in my OG project pan, I currently have a goal to finish everything in that. And you can do it rotating style or just standard style. So mine is a rotating style OG project pan. What I did was I picked, I'm not really sure on the number, I picked around 10 products, and I set a goal to completely finish those products by the end of the year. So that is a project pan. The goal should be to use the item, whether that's to finish it, to use it so many times, or to just hit the pan. What hitting the pan means is in a eyeshadow palette, if you're familiar on my channel, or even bronzer, blush, face products, whatever. When you hit the bottom of the product, you see there's silver behind it. That is the pan. And then some people just have the goal to hit the pan. I do that in several palettes. It's just a way to receive some sort of, in my mind, like gratification for the use of my makeup, the continued use of my makeup, that I'm getting use out of my collection, that sort of thing. So my project pan that I'm currently doing is just OG rotating style. My first tip to you is to give yourself some gimme products. Whenever you join a project pan, give yourself gimme products. What these are products that are either being close to finished or close to pan. This, Tate, sit. Oh, my dogs listen so good. Hi, Hector. He's getting so big. This is his favorite toy. It's a little chicken. It was literally like $1. He loves it. But anyways, what was I even saying? Oh, Tate, no. This ball is not even supposed to be in the house. And you know better. Baby Hector wants it. So, gimme products. Yes, always give yourself a gimme product. Because sometimes project panning can be slow progress or take a while, and it can get frustrating, or you can start to feel burnt out. So I always choose 1 to 2 products that I think that I will hit my goal on by the first update. What this does for me personally, it just keeps me motivated and wanting to continue working on the challenge. So like in my current OG project pan, one of the things I selected was a glitter shade from my Tati palette. It was almost done. Smolder, my blush, was almost done. So those were like my gimme products. And then they will get me through the first update to allow me to hit those goals and to keep me motivated while progress may be slower in other projects. So I always try to do that. Another tip or a trick is that if you're hating something or you don't like it anymore, that's okay. That happens. Sometimes when we decide to do a project pan, we're using or focusing on items that we haven't used in a while. And what can happen is that our preferences have changed, or the product has changed, and we just don't like it anymore. And that's fine. Like, that happens over time. I've gotten products in my project pan before where I just start using it and I'm like, I hate this. And my biggest tip to you is stop using it. Life is short. Chances are, if you're watching this video, girl, boy, whoever, you have enough makeup that you don't need to hate pan that product. Like, you just use what you love. So if you're finding yourself not liking a product in your project pan anymore, it's simple. Rotate it out. Just rotate it out and rotate something else in. Or if you're feeling overwhelmed, don't rotate something else in. I highly recommend this because sometimes when we start hate panning, it not only bleeds into that particular product, but it can also bleed into the whole makeup process in general. sometimes, and this has happened more recently, if I pick a makeup basket and I go through it and there are several products I don't want to use or I don't like, then I won't even do my makeup. Because I don't want to use it. Like, I just don't want to. So when it gets to that point, it's just like bleeding into everything else that I'm trying to do and I'm trying to work on. Whereas realistically, I should have just let that product go. I should have just decluttered it. And that's something that I have learned over time. It's not just something that I've come in and I've, known. So it's something that I kind of figured out over time. The other thing is, there is a lot more product in your products than you realize, especially if you are new to project panning. Oh my Lord. And that can be rough at first, because I know when I first started project panning, I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna finish this blush, I'm gonna finish this bronzer. Good one. There is so much product in our products, guys, that you don't really notice it, I feel like, until you start project panning and keeping track of your use and whatnot, and what you can do in any way you want. But it's just crazy how much product there really is. So I'd also, another tip is to just be realistic in your goals. Saying I'm gonna finish 4 blushes isn't super realistic unless you already have significant progress in them. Just because, I don't know about you, but I only have one face. I only have 2 eyes. So it's not, you need a realistic, obtainable goals, I guess. You can have like some that are like, okay, this might be, a little bit of a stretch or whatever, but I could maybe do it. Like, I do set those goals sometimes with my products where I'm like, this is gonna be close, but I'm gonna try for it. But just being realistic, because if you start feeling like, wow, I'm not making any progress in any of my products in this project, it can make you feel really unmotivated and just burn out, and you might want to just quit. That's what I did my first year, because I was just like, I hit a couple pans in a palette. I finished one product, but then it was just like flat for a couple months. And when that happened, I just wasn't really feeling motivated to project pan anymore. And I took like a months long break, which, is fine too. So that is my tip about that. I would also recommend that you are keeping track of your usage, and you can do this any way you want, whether it be writing it down every time you use it, weighing your products, or taking photographs of your products. I personally prefer to take photographs because sometimes it feels like I'm not making any progress. I've been using this, it looks the same, yada yada. But then if you get a, comparison up, you can see how much you've truly used the product. And that to me can just like really be so motivating and give you that second wind, where it's like, oh wow, I am actually making progress on this. So it just gives you that like oomph that you need. So I would recommend keeping track of your usage in some way, whatever way that is going to best work for you. I also recommend, if you are feeling burnt out or, whatever, take a break. Take a break, whether it's from a product, whether it's from a project. Makeup should be fun. It should be fun. And if you're feeling like the projects you're in or the goals you've set are impeding on that fun, then just stop. I know we've been taught to not quit, but it's okay to quit. I'm telling you, it is okay to quit. Makeup should be fun. Just quit. I've done that before when all of a sudden I find myself in 6 or 7 project pans and I'm like, I can't even use what I want because I feel obligated to use my panning items. So I just quit everything. I quit all my projects. I did that earlier this year, you guys, where I literally just stopped project panning. Like, I didn't care because I just needed the break. And that's fine. Take the break. Another one I would talk about is a pan that palette. So a pan that palette is, people will choose a palette to either hit pan, so the metal portion, in every single shade, or completely finish every shade in the palette. I have done a few of these and I have thoughts. I am currently still working on my Tati Beauty pan that palette, and that went really well. Actually, I had a really good pan that palette year last year. I hit pan in all the shades in 3 of my palettes, so it was a good year for that. But I learned stuff from that as well. So my first year doing a pan that palette, I didn't even hit pan in all of the shades. I had a 9-pan Kylie Cosmetics palette, the burgundy one, and it was all I used for like 3 months because I was so wanting to hit pan and like make all these moves and all this stuff that I hit pan in about 4 or 5 of the shades, and I was so burnt out by the palette that I wanted to just declutter it and just quit it. Like, you know, and I ended up tapping out in like June, like May, June, and I did not touch that palette again for over a year. And I know different things work differently from different people, and I also think it's dependent on the palette that you pick. I think you'll realize fairly quickly if you've selected a good choice for you in terms of your pan that palette. For me, the 9-pan burgundy palette was not a good pan that palette for me. I struggled with it. I got burnt out with it. I got bored with it. I have since decluttered that palette, but I just wanted to bring that up because I know a lot of people commend me on my panning and are so sweet on my panning. So I just want to let you know, like, if you're starting out or if progress is slow, like, same. Like, I have those months. My first year pan that palette, I quit. I only hit like 5 out of 9 shades. Like, it happens. Like, it is what it is, you know. Last year I did my Tati Beauty palette as my pan that palette. I was able to hit all those pans. I also did the J Kissa and Elf palette, and then the KKW Beauty Classic palette. And what I'll say, even though I think that all looks so satisfying and I love the way it all looked, I did start feeling burnt out on a pan that palette in like the October, November area, and I should have just stopped. But I didn't. I didn't do as I say, not as I do. And I didn't take that break, whereas I should have, and I did end up hitting my goal. But then going into 2022, I took a huge break. I did not select a pan that palette for this year, and then I dropped an OG project pan for like 6 months. I now am like reworking on my Tati palette. Now I am more back in like the project panning mode. I still have I haven't started like a new PTP. I'm still actively working on the Tati one because there are a lot of shades that I would really just love to finish in that palette. But that's kind of my spiel with those, is just any project pan or any PTP, give yourself grace. Everyone pans at different paces. Everyone uses their makeup differently and at a different volume. Like, you really can't, like, similar to anything, you really can't compare yourself to others because we're all doing different things with our makeup. So just give yourself grace and have fun with it. Some tips that I like to share sometimes when people are like, you know, I've created so many looks with my PTP that I'm getting like burnout on it, or I want to use it differently, or, you know, I need a different way to get uses out of this eyeshadow because I'm just tired of using it, right? So I just grabbed a random palette. It's the Ciate London Editor palette. And some tips I'll give to you. Take these, you know, with a grain of salt. Like I said earlier, people apply their makeup differently. They like to use their makeup differently. If you don't want to use your makeup this way, fine. That's totally fine. I'm just trying to give you like suggestions. So the first thing, if you want to, my way, like pan more effectively or whatever, is to always place your brush in the same place. Like literally just every time you use it, put it in the same place. Naturally, it's gonna wear down in that area because every time you reach for it, you're putting your brush in the same place. So it's gonna naturally wear that area down. For those of you who say that's digging, you're just fucking dumb. And I'm gonna say it because it's how I told myself I wasn't gonna rant, but how is that digging? To me, it's common sense. Put your brush in the same place. How do they use their eyeshadow? Do they like go in like this? You know? And if you do, that's fine. I don't give a crap. It's your makeup. I'm not gonna tell you how to use it, but also respect me enough to not tell me how to use my makeup. Okay? Okay. Yeah, I'm done. Welcome to my TED Talk. It's over. So that's what I do, is I try to place it in the same whereabouts every time I use it to wear down the space. Now, if you're getting to that place where you're feeling like, I really just want to like spice things up or do something different or whatever, pull out a liner brush or an eyebrow brush, whatever you want to call it. And depending on the shades in your palette, you can use the shades to fill in your brows if you want. You can use this brush to create a blue liner. Wet it down and create a blue liner. So you can use that liner, brows, eyeshadow. Another thing that's really fun that I've done before is taking a spoolie and I don't know, let's say I want brown eyelashes. Scraping the top of this off onto like a palette, adding a little water or adhesive, and then adding it to my eyelashes, and boom, I have brown mascara. You can do it with pink, with blue, whatever. I think I did it with purple. Like, you can use eyeshadow in so many different ways. In fact, the way I hit the last pan on my PTP last year was I started using a pinky shade like this as blush. Start using it as blush. If you're burnt out with it on your eyes, go in with a blush brush, or you can even go in with a fluffier eyeshadow brush, get the pigment on your cheek, and then blend it out. You can do the same with browns. If there's a brown tone in here that you really enjoy, use it as a bronzer. Like, you know what I mean? There are just, I don't know if this is back where it was. Tate knocked it over. But yeah, use it as a bronzer. There are, like, you can literally, if you want, like, you can do so much with an eyeshadow palette. Another tip is if you're wanting to get more use out of it, do a cut crease. I find that I use more shadow when I have to do a cut crease. So that's a way to get a little bit more usage out of it. Some shimmers work really, really well with fluffier brushes. So I wouldn't take one this big, but I would take a smaller fluffy brush and dip it into the shimmers and just like spread it on the eye or buff it onto the eye, and it would look good. It would look sparkly. It blended out nice. You can do it on the lid. There are some shimmers that look great in the crease as well. I've panned an entire shimmer eyeshadow using it to set my lid. Like, there are just so many different ways that you can use your shadow. So I feel if you are, you know, starting to get burnt out or not sure, like, how else could I reach for this? How could I hit this pan? And you're just like kind of like in a creative rut, maybe reach out to like a fellow panner or myself. I know Steph and I have had conversations about that, and the tip with like the fluffy brush and the shimmer, I was like, I find that you even will hit the pan faster if you use the fluffy brush and the shimmer, and it gives the eye look a whole different like kind of vibe. Hi. So yeah, that is kind of like in a nutshell my project panning tips and tricks. Keep it, you know, simple. Quit if you're feeling burnt out. Declutter it if you decide you don't love it anymore. Mix up how you're using your eyeshadow. Set obtainable goals, and change the goals as you need to. It's your collection. You can alter the goals at any time during, like, you know, your project pan. Now, if you join a project pan and there are certain rules and they just aren't working for you, I know some project pans are flexible with altering things a little bit to make it like fit your preferences. Like somewhere it's like, okay, the goal is to hit pan, set a usage goal. I want to use this 20 times and then I'm going to rotate it out. I know a lot of people that do that. So yeah, that's like kind of my spiel. I hope I didn't forget anything. I had originally wanted to like write it all down to make sure that I didn't. But if I think of anything until like between now and the time I post this, I will drop it in the comments. Okay, editing here because I thought of another tip or trick. You can also set different goals within your pan that palette or your project pan. So let's say you're getting a little burnt out on your PTP and you want to take a break, but you also still want to make progress. Something you could do is select a focus shade for that week. So let's say you have a 15 pan palette. Well, this week I'm just going to focus on this brown shade. And then next week I'll focus on this purple shade. Or do like a usage goal within the palette. So I want to use this pink shade 3 times before I rotate and use a different shade in the palette. Stuff like that. Like just get crafty. Think outside of the box. Like you don't have to use it all every day. Even if you just incorporate one of the shades in the palette into your looks a couple times a week, you'll still see progress. So just keep that in mind. That's another tip that just came to me now that I've used before in the past. Like I said, if you're involved in a project pan that you really enjoy, drop that in the comments too so that people can find it over either here on Instagram or over here on YouTube or over on Instagram, and they can get involved with the project panning community as well. And yeah, I think that that's all that I have for you guys today. I hope that you enjoyed today's video and at least some of it was helpful. I will talk to you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.